Okay, in this lesson, we will talk about spam or unwanted commercial email. Now, you might not think that you receive a lot of spam, but the fact of the matter is that most of it goes to your spam folder. So, one might think, what's the problem? Well, in fact, spam remains a scourge for network operators. In particular, someone has to design the filters that separate the good traffic from the bad traffic. Additionally, even if email is classified as spam, if it's accepted for delivery, the Internet's mail protocols dictate that the server has to keep the mail because it's told the receiver that it has accepted the mail. This creates the potential for spam to consume a significant amount of storage space on email servers. Finally, spam can create security problems for users who receive spam emails if the spam messages contain a payload that could be harmful, such as malware or a phishing attack or an attempt to steal a user's private or sensitive information, such as a password. Now, even though you don't see the mail because of these filters, something like 95% of all email traffic is spam. Some reports from the Anti-Phishing Working Group suggest that something like 1 in every 87 emails was a phishing attack. And there's something like 50,000 unique phishing attacks in a month. A common approach for getting rid of spam messages is to filter. In other words, prevent the message from reaching the user's inbox in the first place. Now, this begs the question of how to differentiate spam or the bad messages from ham or the legitimate messages. There are 3 different ways to construct filters. One is content-based. In other words, you can look at what's being said in the mail. For example, if the mail contains particular words, such as Viagra or Rolex, a content-based filter might pick up on those terms and decide to filter the mail. Second, a filter might make a decision about whether an email message is spam or ham based on the IP address of the sender. This method is often called blacklisting. Third, we can construct filters based on behavioral features, or how the mail is sent. So, for example, if the mail is sent at a particular time of day, or if it's sent in a batch of emails that are all roughly the same size, then we may be able to figure out that a message is likely spam simply based on the sender's sending behavior. Now, each of these approaches are complementary, but content-based filtering and IP-based filtering each have problems. Content-based filters are relatively easy for attackers to evade. A recent large commercial mail operator recently told me that he saw something like 80,000 different spellings of Viagra. But additionally, messages can be carried not only in text, but in images, Excel spreadsheets, or even MP3s or movies. Therefore, spammers can easily alter the features of an email's content and adjust those features and change them to evade content-based filters. On the flip side, those maintaining the filters suffer a relatively high cost because the filters must be continually updated as content changes, and the means of carrying the content becomes more sophisticated.